Everybody, it's Thursday, June 2nd, 2022. Welcome to the month of June, by the way. I forgot to mention that in my last video, June 1st, yesterday. Welcome to the month of June. We're almost halfway through the year 2022, which is insane to me. Now, for fiscal year 2021, people are scratching their heads trying to figure out why there was record tax collections. And I've been seeing a few articles about this, asking that question. To me, it's not very much of a head scratcher. Markets were still at or near all-time highs. The cryptos were flying high, and some people say the bubble has busted in those digital currencies. And a lot of the big dogs, the big whales, the big money people cashed out at the top and got out while the little retail investor was left holding the bag for the most part. Not everybody. Some people got out at the right time. The smart people were holding cash and were able to buy now on this dip. And will you be buying stocks? Personally, I'm not going to be buying stocks until we see a lot more downside. When the Fed starts talking about cutting rates again and reinitiating QE, or instead of tightening, more quantitative easing, that's when I will be buying. But before that happens, I think we're going to see a lot of things unfold in the consumer economy. We're talking about consumers loaded up on debt and are not going to be able to make it much longer with interest rates where they are right now. They're going to need some sort of rescue programs. Speaking of rescue programs, we're going to talk about that later in this video. But let's talk about the record tax collections. The CBO, Congressional Budget Office, unexplained tax revenue growth vexes budget scorekeepers. Well, again, it shouldn't be a head scratcher to most people. Also, inflation, everything you buy and pay a sales tax on now, with higher costs and inflation, you're paying more taxes also for every purchase. Property taxes are higher with the elevated tax base, with the higher prices. And again, a lot of people cashed out when asset bubbles were at their peak. Now, I'm not saying they're not going to reinflate the bubble. Bubbles can get reinflated just like they can be deflated. But I'm not sure why this is such a head scratcher. I see several articles about this. Unexplained tax revenue growth. We see this just about at the peak of every economic boom or economic bull market. Now, on the topic of debt, the cost of living, 1/3 of Americans making $250,000 also live paycheck to paycheck. We know the regular people, the middle class people, probably like most of us here. I'm sure there's a few of you making $250,000 or more. Most middle class consumers, people here in this country, are living, well, 70%, 60 to 70%, depending on when you take the survey. For example, if you take the survey right after people get their tax refunds, they're probably not going to describe themselves as living paycheck to paycheck. But even $250,000 salary a year earners living paycheck to paycheck. Why is that? You would think $250,000 would be enough to get out of the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. So what are people doing? Well, the more money people make, the more they want to let other people know how much they're making. And this is my opinion. So if somebody's making $250,000 and they're still living paycheck to paycheck, that tells me that they likely went out and got the nicest car or cars. They got the biggest mortgage they could afford, and that way they can look like their income. All right. I don't think that's a good thing, but that's how people are, especially here in America. People are very materialistic, and just our culture here, our culture in America is you must look like you're successful. It's like when you drive through an apartment complex and you see, $50,000, $60,000 vehicles just parked out in the parking lot. So people are renting an apartment, but yet they've got a $50,000 or $60,000 Tesla out there, or a Hummer, or whatever expensive type of vehicle you could think of, without any garage to park it in. Or someone that lives in a really shady part of town, but they have a really nice car and they have a lot of gold chains and gold watches, Rolex watches, and stuff like that. And I think the more people make, the more they want to let other people know that they're making this. And you see it even on YouTube. You see people showing off their cars. A lot of the economist YouTubers, you know, they show off their fancy cars and stuff like that. Investors, nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a symbol of success, and it lends more credibility. So if someone's talking about the economy and finances and investing, you're going to be more likely to trust them if they're driving a $100,000 vehicle versus somebody sitting in front of a brick wall in their garage with an acoustic guitar behind them. Right, but that's the thing I want to mention. I don't think that you should just listen to somebody and trust them. Listen to the information, but verify it, vet it, do your due diligence. And also when it comes to financial YouTubers and economists, everyone's different. So if I'm saying that I'm going to wait until the Fed starts quantitative easing again and lowering interest rates, if I say that I'm going to wait to start investing more heavily until that happens, because I think that's going to be the bottom, well, that's just my opinion. There's other people right now that are buying what they consider the dip, and they don't think it's going to go any lower as far as the stock market goes and other assets that are really popular today for investing. But if it's already went this low because of fear of inflation and because of fear of quantitative tightening and because of fear of rising interest rates, then why wouldn't it go lower? Because none of those things are showing any sign of reversing anytime soon. When the engineers of the economy come out and say they're going to reverse course, to me, that's going to be a signal that the next bull run is ahead. But as far as where the bottom's at, I don't know, because I don't know what kind of talk is going to come out of the people that engineer this economy. So yeah, the more money you make, looks like the more debt you take on because you want to get the biggest house to move into the neighborhood with other people that are earning $250,000. That's what it looks like to me. Please let me know what you think down in the comments. We're going to wrap this one up. Quick note about the camouflage. I see several people over the course of the past few months. What's with all the camouflage, JJ? Are you in the military? What's the deal with that? I'm not in the military, but here's the short story. When I was a kid, we had a lot of camouflage. I grew up in a farming community, a small town in southwest Michigan. We lived on 40 acres of land. We had a lot of people that would come over and hunt on our property. We had a river that went through the backwoods of our property, which back then I just took for granted. Now, thinking back, it was paradise. You could go fishing back there. We had a pond you can go fishing in. The winters were brutal, but it was a very nice place to grow up. And there's a lot of hunters, so we naturally had a lot of camouflage. And I checked, I've got like 40 camouflage hats. I've got a ton of camouflage pants, shirts. Also, my father was in the military. He always had a lot of camouflage gear. So it's just kind of always been in my family. I didn't realize how many camouflage hats I wore until some of you pointed it out to me. So no, not in the military for those of you wondering, but just always had camouflage in the family. So that's why you see these hats. I'm not trying to send out any signal or message. I appreciate everyone that served in the armed forces, but that's as far as it goes. I'm not in the armed forces myself. Actually, I tried to get into the armed forces, I think when I was 18 or 19, and they didn't want me because I have asthma. So that little inhaler, if you watch the movie The Goonies with the little kid that has to take the inhaler like every 20 minutes or whatever because he's panicking, that was me. Like every time I would exercise, I'd have to take an inhaler. But now I've outgrown it. I can actually exercise now without needing it. So if I wanted to get into the military today, I could. But I don't think my wife wants me to do that. My kids don't want me to do that. Maybe they'll reinstate the draft. We'll see how things go. They're talking about nuclear war, nuclear weapons possibly being deployed. I mean, the world's mad crazy right now. But trying to keep sane in an insane world. Thanks everybody for your support on this channel. Let me know what you think. The $250,000 earners, 1/3 of them living paycheck to paycheck, pretty crazy. Record tax collections, no surprise. The price of everything's higher, so taxes are going to be higher. No surprise. So why are these articles out there acting like it's some sort of mystery? Please let me know. Thanks everybody for being here. Big love. Bye.